Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We are moving on with the description of Jahannam and its people. Let's take Hadith 2851 from Abu Hurairah that the Prophet ﷺ said, Dirsul kafir أو ناب الكافر مثل أحد وغلظ جلده مسيرة ثلاث. The molar tooth or the canine tooth of the kafir will be like the Mount Uhud, and the thickness of his skin would be 3 days' journey. Hadith 2852 again from Abu Hurairah that the Prophet said, ما بين منكبي الكافر في النار مسيرة 3 أيام للراكب المسرع. Between the two shoulders of the kafir would be a distance of 3 days' journey for a speedy rider. So these narrations tell us that the people of Jahannam are going to be absolutely huge, gigantic, enormous, humongous, colossus. If their tooth is like the Mount Uhud and their shoulders are a width of 3 days' journey for a quick rider, then it tells you that they will be absolutely huge. Now why should that be? The reason the ulama give is because if you have a large surface area, then there is more fuel for the fire to consume, and hence this increases your pain and torment. As opposed to if you were just a size of a peanut, let's say, there'll be less for the fire to consume, and henceforth less pain and torment. We seek refuge in Allah Jalla wa Ala. And we may compare this description to the description which has preceded of the people of Jannah, who will be 60 cubits tall. In the Sunan it also says that they will be 7 cubits wide. So even though that is absolutely huge compared to today's standards, it is nothing compared to the Ahlun Nar. Hadith 2853 from Haritha ibn Wahab that the Prophet said, ألا أخبركم بأهل الجنة قالوا بلى قال كل ضعيف متضعف لو أقسم على الله لأبره ثم قال ألا أخبركم بأهل النار قالوا بلى قال كل عتل جواظ مستكبر. The Prophet asked, should I inform you of the people of Jannah? They replied yes, and he said, every weak person who is seen to be weak by the people, if he were to take an oath against Allah, then Allah would fulfill it. Now weak here means not weak in his iman. In fact, he is extremely strong in his iman. Weak means politically weak and socially weak. He does not have a social status. So this is the mutada'af. He is seen as somebody of a lowly status. As for da'if, it means he does not have an ego. He is humble. And as for the people of Jahannam, then 3 descriptions are given. The first one is utul. This description is also seen in the Quran. Utullim ba'da dhalika zanim. As for taking an oath against Allah, then the example has proceeded of Anas ibn Nadr and the teeth of Rubay'a being knocked off as qisas. And he took an oath that her teeth will not be taken as a qisas. Lo and behold, Allah Jalla wa Ala decreed that the victim should pardon Rubay'a. Utul means rough-natured. As for Jawaz, there have been many different definitions given, but from them is the one who eats much and is overweight. And that would not be a surprise for a description of the people of the fire. Remember, we know that the kafir eats in 7 intestines and the Muslim eats in 1 intestine. It is also said that this is the stingy person. And again, that would not be a surprise for a description of the Ahlun Nar. As for mustakbir, that's obvious enough. It means proud. Too proud to accept the truth. Too proud to treat others with respect. Rejecting the truth and looking down on others is the hallmark of pride as defined by the Prophet ﷺ. And the benefit of this hadith is that we may aspire to be like those who are the people of Jannah and keep away from embodying the descriptions of the Ahlun Nar. Also in the chapter Hadith 2854 from Abu Hurairah that the Prophet says, رُبَّ أَشْعَثَ مَدْفُوعٌ بِالْأَبْوَابِ لَوْ أَقْسَمَ عَلَى اللَّهِ لَأَبَرَّ. There are many people with disheveled hair who are driven away from the door. If they were to adjure Allah Jalla wa Ala, He would fulfill their request. So this hadith means to tell us that there are so many people who are poor, of a lowly status. They're pushed against the door, so nobody wants them to enter their house because they do not want to be seen with such lowly status people. They are not listened to. Nobody would accede to their intercession if they were to intercede. They simply have no status in society, and yet with Allah Jalla wa Ala, they have the highest status. And in this there is a practical lesson for us. Be careful if you look down on others because of their lowly status in society. Understand that for all you know, these people whom you are looking down on and calling miskeen could be higher than you and superior to you in the eyes of Allah Jalla wa Ala. The kuffar in Jahannam are going to say, وَقَالُوا مَا لَنَا لَا نَرَى رِجَالًا كُنَّا نَعُدُّهُمْ مِنَ الْأَشْرَارِ. What is the matter that we do not see these people whom we deem to be lowly in status? Let's take Hadith 2855. Abdullah ibn Zam'ah reports that the Prophet ﷺ was giving them a sermon, and he mentioned the dromedary of Salih ﷺ, talking about the one who went to slaughter it. إِذِ انْبَعَثَ أَشْقَاهَا. He says, إِنْ بَعَثَ بِهَا رَجُلٌ عَزِيزٌ عَارِمٌ مَنِيعٌ فِي رَحْتِهِ. This man was Aziz, so he was high and mighty and honored in the society. He was Arim, meaning of mischievous nature, and Mani', meaning he had strength in his society. Mithlu Abi Zam'ah, just like Abu Zam'ah. This man Abu Zam'ah is the grandfather of the narrator Abdullah ibn Zam'ah, and this man died as a kafir, and he used to mock the Prophet. His son Zam'ah died as a kafir in the Battle of Badr. As for his son Abdullah ibn Zam'ah, then he's a noble Sahabi who's narrating this hadith. Anyway, then the Prophet goes on, إِلَى مَا يَجْلِدُ أَحَدُكُمْ إِمْرَأَتَهُ جَلْدَ الْأَمَةِ وَلَعَلَّهُ يُضَاجِعُهَا فِي آخِرِ يَوْمِهِ. Why does one of you hit his wife as he might be hitting a servant girl, and then at the end of the day he's going to have intercourse with her? And then the Prophet went on to give an admonition about passing wind and people laughing at that. He says, إِلَى مَا يَضْحَكُ أَحَدُكُمْ مِمَّا يَفْعَلُ. Why does one of you laugh at that which he himself does? We take from this narration that in one khutbah you may discuss various topics. As the Prophet does here, he discusses 3 different topics, though it is better to focus your khutbah on one topic, so that all the people who are listening may focus their attention on one topic. The Prophet in the khutbah mentions Abu Zam'ah. This is not backbiting, because Abu Zam'ah was a kafir who used to mock the Prophet, and therefore does not have the sanctity of a Muslim, or even a dhimmi. As for hitting the wife, the Prophet seems to be discouraging it here. The Quran allows it, and to reconcile we say that hitting should only be a disciplinary hitting, so that the wife or the children may fear Allah Jalla wa Ala, not you. So it should not be a harsh beating. The Prophet saying it does not make sense. You're beating your wife harshly and then you're going to have intercourse with her at the end of the day. It's like 2 opposites coming together. It makes no sense. There is no consistency. Just as he told us about the person who urinates in a pond and then he bathes in it. It does not make sense, meaning it does not sit well with the rational mind. Hitting the wife is permissible in a case of extreme need, when doing so would prove to be useful, just like medication. In the Sunan there is a narration in which the Prophet forbade beating the wives. But then Umar radiallahu anh objected, and he said that some of these wives, they are disobedient and they get rude with the husband. So the Prophet allowed disciplinary hitting of the wife. When he did so, many women came to the Prophet to complain about this. The Prophet addressed the people and he said that 70 women have come complaining about their husbands. The Prophet says, وَلَا تَجِدُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ خِيَارَكُمْ. You will not find those people to be the best of you. So you see, he's discouraging hitting the wife. The best people will not hit the wife. As for the inferior quality iman, they will hit the wife. Also, we learn some etiquettes about passing the wind. If somebody else passes the wind, the sunnah is not to laugh. It is from bad etiquettes to laugh. Rather, you ignore it. Hadith 2856 from Abu Hurairah that the Prophet said, رأيت عمر ibn لحي ibn قمعة ibn خنذف أبا بني كعب هؤلاء يجر قصبه في النار. I saw Amr ibn Luhay ibn Qam'ah ibn Khindhif, the father of Banu Ka'ab, dragging his intestines in the fire. What is so special about Amr ibn Luhay? He was the one who first introduced the idols in the Arabian Peninsula. Let's take Hadith 2128, riwayah number 1, from Abu Hurairah that the Prophet said, "Sinfani min ahli an-nar lam arahuma, qawmun ma'ahum siyatun ka'adhnab al-baqar yadribuna biha an-nas, wa nisa'un kasiyatun 'ariyatun mumilatun ma'ilat, ru'usuhunna ka'asnimat al-bukht al-ma'ila, la yadkhulna al-jannah wa la yajidna rihaha wa inna rihaha la yujadu min masirati kadha wa kadha." There are two types of people of the fire whom I have not seen yet. The first type are people with whips like the tail of an ox, flogging people with them. And the second are women who are clothed yet naked. They incline others and are inclining themselves. Their heads are like the humps of a camel. They will not enter Jannah, nor even find its fragrance, even though the fragrance of Jannah can be perceived from such and such a distance. So as for beating the people with whips, then we have to carry this meaning to be unjust beating. As for whipping people justly, for example, to the fornicator, then this is not a sinful act. Rather, it is wajib. As for the kasiyat, clothed, and ariyat, naked, then this could mean that the clothing is see-through, or it could also mean that the clothing is tight so you can make out the shape of the body. Because the whole idea of the clothing is that it should cover you up. So this is the physical interpretation. The more spiritual one would be that they have clothes on, but they are naked from their taqwa. Because taqwa is also a libas, a clothing, as the Quran puts it. It covers you, it covers your sins. So they will be clothed but have no taqwa. And both meanings are fine. As for the mumilat and ma'ilat, then firstly the ma'ilat, inclining means the way they walk, they incline in such a way so as to draw attention to themselves. And mumilat make others incline, that is to say, the way they walk to draw attention to themselves makes others incline towards them and attracted to them. So in other words, these women are absolute walking, talking fitna in the way they dress and in the way they walk. As for the head being like the hump of a camel, then it will be raised, so their hair is bundled up and raised, and as they walk, the hair would incline either to the right or to the left as she walks. And so these types of people will not even smell the fragrance of Jannah, which could be smelt from a great distance. Even though the distance is not mentioned in the narration, we do not particularly care about the distance. We know that it is a great distance. That's all we need to know. So in this narration, there is a severe warning against tyrants and oppressors who beat people without due right, and there is a severe warning against these types of women who dress and behave in a way so as to create fitna, just like you find Western women in the world doing. And so the Muslim women need to be aware of this type of behavior. Let us move to the next chapter about this dunya ending and people being gathered on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Hadith 2858. From Mustawrid, the brother of Banu Fihr, that the Prophet said, "Wallahi ma dunya fil akhirah illa mithlu ma yaj'alu ahadukum isba'ahu hadhihi wa ashara Yahya bis sababa fil yam falyanzur bima yarji'." By Allah, this dunya compared to the akhirah is just like if one of you dips his index finger into the sea, then he should take a look at how much water he has taken out. So of course we take from this narration the good idea of giving parables and analogies when dealing with difficult concepts, because it makes it easier for the listener to understand. We also take from this narration that this dunya is nothing compared to the akhirah, in terms of its length and in terms of its joy and pleasure that you may experience in this world. So after having known that, the Muslim knows where to direct his efforts and energy. This hadith would be ideal for those people who are too dunyafied, meaning all their thoughts and energy is directed to attaining the good stuff of this dunya. This hadith is a great wake-up call and a reality check for them. Let's take hadith 2859 of the same chapter. From Aisha, the Prophet said, يحشر الناس يوم القيامة حفاة عراة غرلا فقلت يا رسول الله النساء والرجال جميعا ينظر بعضهم إلى بعض قال يا عائشة الأمر أشد من أن ينظر بعضهم إلى بعض. The Prophet said the people will be resurrected on Yawm al-Qiyamah without any shoes, without any clothes, and uncircumcised, meaning with their foreskins intact. Aisha said, O Messenger of Allah, women and men together looking at each other? The Prophet said, O Aisha, the matter is far more severe than them to be looking at each other. We take from this narration that there will be a resurrection. We take that people will be resurrected as they were born, naked and uncircumcised. كَمَا بَدَأْنَاكُمْ أَوَّلَ خَلْقٍ نُعِيدُ. As for the resurrection, the Prophet said in Sahih al-Bukhari, كُلُّ ابْنِ آدَمْ يَبْلَى إِلَّا عَجْبَ ذَنَبْ مِنْهُ خُلِقْ وَمِنْهُ يُرَكَّبْ. Every part of the body of Ibn Adam will disintegrate in the grave except the tailbone. From it he was created and from it he will be reassembled. And we also find that Allah Jalla wa Ala is going to send down water which will seep into the graves and it will thereby resurrect the people. And the main lesson to be learned from this is the horrors of this day of resurrection. Normally, if a naked person comes into your vicinity, that person will be the first and probably the only thing you will notice, because it is just so unusual and shocking. Yet this unusual and shocking action would be absolutely insignificant on the day of resurrection, because everyone will have far bigger problems to worry about. لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مِّنْهُمْ شَأْنٌ يُغْنِيهِ. Let's take Hadith 2861 from Abu Hurairah that the Prophet said, يُحْشَرُ النَّاسِ عَلَى ثَلَاثِ طَرَائِقٍ راغبين راهبين اثنان على بعير وثلاثة على بعير وأربعة على بعير وعشرة على بعير وتحشر بقيتهم النار تبيت معهم حيث باتوا وتقيل معهم حيث قالوا وتصبح معهم حيث أصبحوا وتمسي معهم حيث أمسوا. He says the people will be assembled in three categories: those desiring Jannah and those fearing Jahannam. There will be 2 coming upon the camel, 3 coming upon a camel, 4 riding a camel, 10 people riding a camel, and the rest will be assembled by a fire. It will stay the night where they stay the night. It will rest at midday when they rest at midday. It will be in the morning where they are in the morning, and it will be in the evening wherever they are in the evening. Now firstly, this hashr spoken of here, meaning the gathering, is the gathering before the trumpet is blown on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and that will be when everyone will collapse dead, and then another trumpet will be blown when everyone will rise. And there's a difference of opinion as to whether there are 2 or 3 trumpets blown, but that's besides the point. Let's leave that. The important issue here is that this hadith is before the trumpet is blown. In other words, it is in this dunya, not in the akhirah. The people are going to be gathered, we know from other narrations, in Ash-Sham. That is the mahshar, the place of gathering of the people. Now what is unclear in this hadith is this idea of 3 categories. So the first category mentioned are those who are desirous and fearful. So these have to be the mu'mineen, who are desirous of their good deeds but fearful of their evil deeds. And then the second category is about these numbers of people riding on a camel. The problem is that these first 2 categories are not mutually exclusive. People from the first category could still be in the second category and vice versa. And there's the unclarity. As for the third category, that is fair enough. These will definitely be the kuffar, and this will be right before Yawm al-Qiyamah, before the trumpet is blown, when there will be no mu'min left on the earth. So this third category takes place after the first 2 categories. But in any case, it does not harm us if we do not understand fully the 3 categories, because there is no practical benefit in this for us. Walhamdulillah, it is sufficient for us to know the frights of Yawm al-Qiyamah so that we may prepare for that fateful day.